It's pretty obvious that Peppa Pig is a fun show that makes us laugh while following the adventures of the world's most famous piglet. But did you know this cartoon hides many creepy facts that will send shivers down your spine and make you tremble in fear? Did you know that Susie Sheep's family probably has to supply wool for clothing stores? This is a rarely explored secret in the show, but anyone can tell it's a seriously creepy fact. In the real world, people wear clothes and accessories made from animal leather, like fur coats and crocodile leather bags. But in a show like Peppa Pig, this is really bizarre because animals behave like regular people. In the episode where George gets his clothes all muddy, the pig family goes to Miss Rabbit's store to buy him something new to wear. It's already weird enough that George only has one outfit and has to go there without pants, but things get even stranger when Miss Rabbit offers him a wool coat. This type of fabric comes from the wool of sheep like Susie, which means these poor sheep have to provide their own skin for clothing production. That's seriously creepy, because it would be like tearing off a part of your body to keep other people warm. Do they get paid for it, or is Miss Rabbit exploiting them? We'll talk more about this mysterious character later in the video. There are many theories about Miss Rabbit's true identity, since she always seems to be everywhere at once. One of the most famous theories is that she's a secret agent spying on the pig family, but there's even stronger evidence suggesting that she is actually an evil entity, like a vampire. In fact, Miss Rabbit seems to be an even more powerful vampire, since she can be in multiple places at the same time. But you want solid evidence to prove this theory, right? Alright, but be careful, you might get scared. First, let's look at the episode The Queen, where Miss Rabbit receives an award for being the hardest worker in the country. There's a scene where she walks past a mirror and her reflection is completely missing. Everyone knows that vampires like Madame Gazelle don't have reflections, and in this scene, Miss Rabbit's ears should have been visible, but they aren't because she has no soul. The next piece of evidence is her ability to move much faster than a normal rabbit. In the episode The Aquarium, she's outside selling tickets when, out of nowhere, she appears inside one of the tanks cleaning the glass, and then suddenly she's at the cafe counter on the other side of the building. How did she get out of the water and teleport across the place without anyone noticing? Super suspicious. Could she be the one who turned Madame Gazelle into a vampire? Speaking of suspicious things, another creepy fact is that Mr. Fox eats other animals. Whenever a character eats in Peppa Pig, the animators take care to make sure the food is always a vegetable. For example, Freddy Fox eats carrot soup at Rebecca Rabbit's house. But things get really creepy when Grandma Pig goes to put his chickens to bed and finds Mr. Fox about to feast on them. In the zoo episode, Madame Gazelle is terrified of Mr. Lion and Mrs. Crocodile, afraid that she'll be eaten. If she's that nervous, it must mean that it's a real possibility, and that's terrifying. That means some characters actually eat each other. Sure, in the real world we also eat other animals, but seeing it happen in the children's cartoon is just plain weird. We know for a fact that there's a missing child in the Peppa Pig universe, maybe even two, but we'll get to that soon. First, let's talk about Claire the cow, the daughter of Mummy Cow. In Peppa's world, all the kids play together, but this one character has never even spoken to Peppa, making her a huge mystery that fills us with fear. Fans have given her the name Claire, and she seems to live in town with Mummy Cow's family. But why is this character still missing? Was she kidnapped? Is she sick? It's a mystery that gives us chills. Do you prefer cows or pigs? Comment #pig so we can get to know ya. If Peppa Pig were a horror movie, they would definitely explore Madame Gazelle being a blood-sucking vampire. You already know she doesn't have a reflection in mirrors, that she's way too old to still be alive, and that she doesn't feel cold, even when swimming in nearly frozen water. Every vampire needs one thing to survive, and you know exactly what that is. Could it be that Madame Gazelle became a teacher just to have easy access to her food supply? Oh my goodness, could this explain where Claire the cow went? Maybe that's why Mr. Bull is always at school. He's investigating the vampire. The official Peppa Pig website once posted an image featuring Peppa's twin sister. Her name might be Olivia, and she could be the second missing child in town. Check out these strange details. This character might live in the basement, unable to communicate with the outside world for some reason. Maybe because of an illness, or maybe because she's pure evil. Another piece of evidence for her existence is in the computer game leaderboard that Mummy Pig is playing. Look closely at the final name on the list, which has a score of 142 eggs. We know who all the others are: GEO for George, PEP for Peppa, GMP and GPP for Grandpa and Granny Pig, MMP for Mummy Pig, SUZ for Susie Sheep. But who's the last one? OOP could only be Olivia. Did you know that in real life there was an actual cloned sheep named Dolly? We believe Susie might be a clone of her mother as a tribute to this surprising fact. One of the reasons for this suspicion is that Susie's father has never been introduced in the show. But even more than that, Susie is practically an exact copy of her mother, unlike the other kids, who look different from their parents. Take Peppa and Mummy Pig for example. As mother and daughter, they have different tastes in clothes. But with Susie, she looks just like her mom. In the episode where they appear as adults, you can see that Susie is practically a replica of her mother. Besides, when they were about to move to another country, it was probably to a cloning lab because it was time to make more clones. Could it be that the lab is owned by Miss Rabbit, and that's where she gets the wool for her coats? Have you ever noticed that the queen might live alone even though she's an elderly woman? In the scenes at the palace where the animated version of Queen Elizabeth II lives, we can see that no one else is living with her, not even the guards who should be protecting her. There isn't a single servant in the castle, so much so that when the queen needs to put on her boots, she goes looking for them herself. But this wouldn't be possible in real life, since a monarch would have many assistants for tasks like that. Letting an elderly woman live alone in such a huge castle is both dangerous and creepy for a children's cartoon. You know who's never alone? Those who subscribe and turn on notifications here on the channel. One of the strangest things about Peppa Pig is that everyone seems to be stuck in time. Peppa should already be 20 years old since the show first aired in the early 2000s. The fact that she has only celebrated one birthday while 6 Christmas episodes have aired proves our point. This town is caught in a time loop. Another clue is Edmund Elephant. He's way too young to know so much about science. And this isn't even about him being a genius. He might be, but even geniuses need time to study. At only 2 years old, he shouldn't be able to answer such deep scientific questions. Something must have happened that trapped all the characters in this bizarre time warp. The rabbits have tunnels all over the city and maybe even under people's houses. That's super creepy because it could mean the rabbit family has secret passageways beneath their neighbors' properties. At Rebecca's house, we see that they have such a huge underground property, which might explain how Miss Rabbit moves so fast. Maybe she even has superpowers. If this theory is true, then we're dealing with something seriously disturbing. Imagine your neighbor sneaking into your house at night, watching you sleep, or even stealing your food. We also know that the rabbit family's land is massive because they live underground. But here's the big question: how did they escape the flood? In the rainy episode, we learn that everyone lives on hills to avoid the water, but that wouldn't apply to the rabbits. So yes, there's proof that they have secret tunnels all over the place. Maybe the rabbits have tunnels because they're filming a secret reality show and the town's residents don't even know that they're on TV. Sounds crazy? Here's the evidence. The proof that there's a camera filming the characters is in the episode where they go shopping for George's new clothes. When the pig family jumps in the mud, the dirt splashes onto the camera lens, proving that we're watching them through a recording. With this evidence, we can conclude that every time an episode starts and zooms in on the characters, it's because there's an actual camera filming. Miss Rabbit is everywhere because she works for the television network as the show's producer, along with her family. They're keeping an eye on the pigs. And when Peppa appears on TV and talks to the camera, she's literally introducing the show alongside her family. That would support another theory, that they all know they're being filmed and that this is just one big TV show. Creepy. Last but not least, one of the hardest things to watch in Peppa Pig is how poorly Daddy Pig is treated. Like when he fell from an airplane and no one cared, or when he had to run a marathon almost entirely on his own with barely any help. He could have seriously collapsed. Or when everyone forgot Father's Day and made him a terrible cake as an apology. One of the worst moments was when Peppa took her dad's winter coat and put it on a snowman, leaving him shivering in the freezing cold. That's just cruel. You know what's not cruel? Knowing you can always count on us. We've picked out 2 more videos for you to watch. See you in the next one.